Hi everybody, this is the second video for 6.1. We're going to start factoring now. So what we're looking for is the biggest thing that we can take out of everything separated by a plus or minus. So here is our plus sign, and we're looking on this side and this side. So if we are looking at two separate sides, and I'll go ahead and separate them, you should notice that 5 and 15 have common factors. So that means that I can take out a 5 from both the left and the right side. Notice that this y cubed does not have a common y on the right hand side, so we can't take out a y. And then we also have this y minus 2 term that happens once on the left and once on the right. So we can also take that out. So we have now quickly found our GCF instead of having to break everything down. So that is our GCF. But now what we're going to do, because we factored it out, is we're going to rewrite everything with that part taken out. So because we took out a 5, we're going to divide this one by 5 and this number by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. So there will be no coefficient there. We don't have to rewrite the 1 because we have other things to multiply by. If there are no variables left, then you want to keep the 1, but if there are variables, then we can get rid of the 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we'll rewrite the 3 in just a little bit. Because that y cubed, we didn't factor it out, it will stay on that left-hand side. And then we have y minus 2, we took out one of those. So because there's only one here, this is going to go away. And there's only one on the right-hand side, so that one will go away as well. So then the only thing left on the left-hand side is the y cubed. And then we have the minus sign separating the left and the right-hand side. And what's left on the right-hand side is the 3. So then that is our factored answer. Essentially what we are doing is figuring out what the GCF is, which was, so our GCF for this problem was 5 times y minus 2. And then what we did, we took our problem and we divided it by the GCF. So we divided both sides by the GCF. Because we took it out, which allowed us to cancel that term, allowed us to cancel this term, and notice how we're left with that y to the 3. And then we were able to cancel this other y minus 2 term, and when we divided 15 and 5, we got 3, which is what we were left with, and then they're separated by this negative sign. So this y cubed minus 3 is what was left when we divided out the greatest common factor. So that's why it's here. And then the greatest common factor is outside of that. And we don't have to use brackets. We could use parentheses. It doesn't matter. They're basically the same. Typically you use brackets with like larger problems just because they can hold more. But you could do both. So factoring by grouping is something that we're going to be doing a lot of. We do it when we have 4 terms and those terms seem to have something in common. So we're going to start by looking at our polynomial. I always just look at the first two terms, and then I look at the two parts of the second term, or the two second terms. I guess it would be the third and the fourth term. So if we're looking at 4x cubed and 3x squared y, you'll notice that what they have in common is an x squared. So we'll take out an x squared. So if we take an x squared term out, we now write out what we have left. So we take out an x squared, which leaves us with just one x, and that goes away completely. So I'm left with 4x plus 3y. And now we'll look at the other term. So we have 4x y squared plus 3y cubed. And for this problem, they both have a y squared term in common. So we'll take out a y squared term. And because we're taking out a positive y squared term, we need to put plus y squared. Okay, you always want to include the sign of what you are taking out, if it's positive or negative, and that'll be clear in just a second. So we took out the y squared, which gets rid of this term completely. And from the y cubed, we are left with 1y. So now we rewrite what we have left. So we have 4x plus 3y. And now notice that these terms in the parentheses are exactly the same. These should be the same. So if they are not, you might have done something wrong. Done something incorrectly. Or your answer is prime. Okay, so now because these terms are exactly the same, we can take it out because it's basically the greatest common factor of both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So let's go ahead and take this out. So we have 4x plus 3y, and it's a quantity, it sticks together. And what we are left with, this x squared and this plus y squared, which is why it was important to include the sign, those are going to stick together as well inside of the second parenthesis as our factor. And that's it. So I would encourage you to pause the video and see if you can do the next problem on your own. So for this one, again, we're just going to look at the first two and then the third and fourth as a group and look to see what we can take out of both. So in this first group, we can definitely take out an x. You should see that they both have an x term, so we'll take out an x. But this is kind of where knowing your multiplication tables comes into play. So a 4 actually goes into both of these. So if we take out a 4 and an x, so we have 4x, which means we're going to divide this first term by 4x and divide this 8x by 4x as well. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. We didn't take out this p to the 4 term, so it stays. But we did take out this x term, so we're going to get rid of it. It'll go away. Oops, sorry. So this becomes 9. This goes away. And then if we divide 8x by 4x, then this becomes 2 and the x's go away. So then I'm left with 9p to the 4 minus 2. Okay, so again, we need to look at the other side and see what we can take out. So the common factor of 18 and 4 is 2. So we're going to take out a 2. They also have a p in common, so there's p to the 5 and then 1p, which means we'll take out a p term. And let's go ahead and take out a positive, sorry, not 4, it's 2. 2p. So I'm left with, if I take 18p to the 5 and divide by 2p, I get 9p to the 4. And then if I divide 4p by 2p, I get just a 2 because the p's are going to cancel. So then I have, don't forget this negative part, I have negative 9p to the 4 plus 2. Now, this part is super important because these parts are supposed to be exactly the same. And so notice that there is a sign difference. So if you have a sign difference like this, where the first one on the right hand side is positive and the next one is negative, but on the left hand side the signs are swapped, what that means is that you need to take a negative outside of this right hand parenthesis. So go ahead and write that. So we need to take a negative on the right side. So we have 4x times 9p to the 4 minus 2. And because we're taking a negative out of this one and we're pulling it outside, this will become a negative. So this becomes negative. But that means that all of the signs inside are going to flip. So that 9p, I gotta keep the 2p on the outside. So 9p to the 4 becomes positive, and that positive 2 becomes negative 2. And now these are exactly the same, which means we've done it correctly, and we can take that out. We have 9p to the 4 minus 2. And then what's left will go in our next parenthesis. So it'll be 4x minus 2p. We have one last step in this one. So you always want to double check that you can't divide both terms by anything else. So 9 and 2 don't share any common terms because 9 is divided by 3 and 3, and 3 doesn't divide 2. So this right hand side is done. But this side is not, because I can divide 4 by 2 and I can divide 2 by 2. So then what I want to do is divide them both by 2, but take the 2 onto the outside. So this will be 2 times 2x minus p. And when we have a scalar or a number that's being multiplied into the parentheses, typically we just put it on the outside. And then we will rewrite our first one, that was already done, and then this other part. And then we are done. These are much easier with a lot of practice. So you really want to do your due diligence and do as much practice as possible with these and reach out if you have any questions or need help.